Hi guys, welcome back to my show. And today is Thursday, so we're gonna work on our defense. If you have any suggestions, just let me know through app. Alright, let's go. Okay. So this is the critical position. It's black to move. Now I'm gonna start our clock. I'm gonna set it to 20 minutes first. Because usually in 20 minutes or less than that, we have to make our decision. What are we going to do with our position? All right. I have to write down the date because this is how I solve my chess puzzles. I have to write down what I think particularly moves, so I can compare it to the book after I'm done solving this chess puzzle or position. All right, what do we have here? Black has a nice outpost on e5. And also, it seems to me that this position came from a Sicilian defense because black doesn't have this c pawn and looks like a Najdorf kind of pawn structure. So if I were white here, okay, let's assess the position. What does white have? White has a light squared bishop, and white has the majority of pawns on the queen side, which means that white can try to create a pass pawn on the queen side, whereas black, he has the pawn majority on the king side. So, and also white has the bishop, so bishop is favored when there are outside pass pawns. So it's good for white to create some pass pawns in order to get, be able to use the minor piece better. But I like black's knight here on e5 because it controls a lot of squares. It restricts white's pieces. But maybe white has this maneuver, queen e4. Just threatening to check, not even checkmate. Just check the black king. So we gotta watch out for that. Oops. Okay. So what are White's weaknesses? Maybe White's weakness is... Does White have a weakness? His d5 pawn here is undefended. Maybe we can attack it with queen g2, maybe. So we're gonna attack the bishop and the pawn. That's possible. What else? I mean, White's queen on e3 is indirectly under attack by the rook, but black has to move the knight first, but he cannot move the knight. The knight on e5 is pinned, because otherwise the queen is gonna get the e8 if, like for example, White moves the knight. So for White, I think if I were White, I might have to like chase this queen because it's too active. I might play like rook f4. We're assessing the position, so black's queen is pretty active, pressuring this h3 pawn and restricting White's king because it cannot go to the 8th rank. So black's queen is the most active piece for black. Okay. I have an idea. Black can play like rook e7, knight c6, but it's gonna take like 2 moves to do that. So it's like a discovered attack against the queen and the rook. Oh, it's not even discovered attack because the white rook can defend, can cover the black's rook attack. So okay, it's kind of waste of 2 moves. But it's good to see that. No, it's a complicated position. What should I do here? Ah, so also black has this isolated d6 pawn. So like for example, if the black white queen can go to b6, it can attack the isolated d6 pawn and the a6 pawn too. So just an idea. Those are two of black weaknesses that that I can see. Yeah, I mean for if white, then if I'm playing as white, I might play a4 just to weaken black's queenside pawns. So that's white's threat, I guess. If I go king f8 and queen b6 and queen g2. Man. I don't know. So if white is planning to play a4, then how can black prevent this push-up pawn? I don't think black can prevent it. And also white has this threat, queen b6 or even queen a7, just to attack this two pawns. Yeah. Maybe I can attack the g2 pawn. I don't know. The bishop on c2 with queen g2 here to create some threats. So the idea is, what is the idea? Just creating threats. So white doesn't have. So white's not gonna have any like attack. So you want. I'm trying to force my opponent to do something to defend. So my opponent would not have a chance to do what they want. So queen c2, let's say bishop b1. With queen g2, it's attacking the c2 and the d5 pawn. So if for example white queen e4, then I think I can take or not. Queen e4 threatening to play queen a7 check, so I have to take. Queen takes e4. See here. So queen here takes, then rook takes, pinning the knight. Then now I can play king f8. I'm not sure if this is a good endgame for black, but I guess I don't have a choice, because from what I'm seeing is white can break black's queenside pawns easily with a4 or here. So after king f8, just to defend this rook, then a4, I guess. Then rook b8, rook b4. Yeah, this is not gonna look good. Yeah, I think this is a bad endgame. If I'm gonna play this position in endgame as black, I'm gonna be in trouble. So You know, but white has this queen e4 followed by queen h7. Maybe I can play g6 right away. But if I play g6, if I play g6, then just like international master coach Joel Banawa says, like every pawn move creates a weakness, so this becomes weak. Well, I cannot play g6 because h6 just hangs. Also, this square becomes weak because if my pawn is on g6, then there's no way, there are no pawns that are defending those the pawn and square. So what am I supposed to do? This is hard to position for. I thought it's looking good for black because the knight on e5 is beautifully placed. But when I'm looking at some variations and plans, it's difficult for black to do something. Maybe queen f3, queen takes, then rook f4, and knight d1. No, this is horrible. Knight g5. Oh. Okay. How many minutes do we have? Oh, I'm gonna make a. Yeah, I have to make a choice. Okay. Experience performance issues. All right. Looks like my computer is. I don't know. Yeah, if I play queen g2, then white plays queen e4, then queen takes queen, rook takes queen. I cannot even play g6 then f5 because white is just gonna take the pawn. So seems like a hopeless position to have, or it's just difficult to get. Can even play a5 maybe, a5, then rook f4, then queen g2. Queen e4, queen takes c4, rook takes c4. Yeah, I don't think pushing the pawn here on the queen side is bad. It's good because whenever I push the pawn, then it's just easier for white to collect it afterwards in the end game. Because if I push the a5, my rook has to be here on b8 and try to like get a double pawns for white or try to open its king's position. But in this one, there are less pieces, and most likely the game is going to transpose into the endgame. So I have to be careful in pushing my pawns. Yeah, but it's quite difficult to do this. Queen g2, queen e4, queen takes e4, rook takes e4, then king f8, and a4. Yeah. And 1 minute to go. I'm missing a lot of things. I gotta write down my moves. I'm gonna make a decision. Okay, let's look at this position. So for me, my answer is I wrote down rook, queen g2, put down queen g2. Okay, all right. So according to here, in this position, coat, black to move, assessment, white has the better position. Yeah, okay. Black's queen side is weak. White threats a3 to a4. Okay, we got that. In situations of this so-called passive defense, aim for the moment at only parrying the opponent's threats proves much more effective. So the topic is passive defense. In severe time trouble, he nevertheless finds a plan of defense his weak. He finds a plan of defense of his weak pawn. So queen g2 is the correct move. This is a game between the former chess world champion Anatoly Karpov and a great Swedish chess grandmaster Ulf Andersson, which is known for his endgame technique, defensive and positional brilliance. Queen e3, queen g2, the threat of the d5 pawn, bishop e4, then here, according to the author of this book, Lev Polugayevsky and Iakov Damsky. Okay. And if bishop h7, then just take, because you cannot take this one. Then no. I thought this rook is defending this pawn. Okay, so after bishop h7, I can just go here, and I'm still attacking this queen. All right, sneaky. But if bishop e4, then knight c4. What about queen e4? Okay, why did Karpov played queen e4? So I'll take, then rook takes, then king f8. Okay, gotta defend the rook. Okay, now a4. This is what I calculated so far. And rook c8. Oh, this is crazy. I wrote down rook b8, which is incorrect. This after, let's say rook b8. Maybe if black plays here, then white can just go here. And this pawn is weakening. Maybe white is threatening to take. Then if pawn takes, then maybe bishop here, a4. It's trying to gang up on that b5 pawn. But Grandmaster Ulf Andersson played rook c8. What is the idea? So it's gonna defend it here. Okay, yeah. So I missed this idea, trying to defend the pawn via the rank, because usually I'm thinking about just defending the b5 pawn with the by the way of the file, but rook c8 with the idea of rook c5. I guess that's Grandmaster Andersson's idea. Bishop d1, rook here. Karpov defended the pawn. Okay, king e7. So maybe white can go here, and then play b4. Bishop e2. King here. Where's this king going? So the idea is after takes, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, rook b4. White cannot. The white rook cannot leave this pawn because the black rook is constantly attacking it. So king b3, king here. Okay, a5 is a prophylaxis move because black wanted to go here. Now black cannot go there. Yeah. So what now? And I like a5. Or maybe not. Maybe it's not good because with the move a5, it fixes black's queenside pawns into light squares. But the problem is that after, if white plays a5, then there are no more tension. You know, there's no pressure on the b5 pawn. So if I were white, I don't know. I might just try to delay playing a5, maybe play king b4. But the problem is if white plays like king b4, I think black can, maybe. I don't know. If he goes here, then I think I'll just take. Yeah. I don't know if something's gonna happen. because white's rook is stuck defending this pawn. My rook is stuck defending the b5 pawn. And the only way that white can kick this rook on c5 is to play b4. But white king is out, is on the way. So okay. So here in king c7, quote, in the endgame, the black king has gained the opportunity to become the chief defender. Okay, defending this weak b5 pawn. a5, king b7, king c2, rook c7, b4. Okay, Karpov played b4. Quote, the black pawns have been fixed on squares accessible to the bishop, and the c3 to c4 cannot be prevented. Here too, Ulf Andersson takes the only correct decision to conduct passive defense, even defense in that depth, and on no account to change the situation which has arisen on the board. Indeed, even the slightest additional weakening would have given white good chances. For example, f6, Ulf Andersson played rook e7. But if, for example, black played f6, then bishop here, maybe if black plays f6, because before black's pawn is here on f7, controlling these squares, but after black plays f6, then this becomes weak. I think if white can like find a way how to get to those squares, like e6. Okay. So f6, bishop d3, knight takes, king takes, rook, then rook e4, rook e5, king d4, rook e3. So it transposed to rook and pawn endings where you have to do a lot of calculations. King here. So Karpov has, if like for example the rooks are exchanged, Karpov has this idea. Then takes, king takes, then b5 again. Then try to create a pass a pawn. So this is very good endgame for white. Okay, now c4. Takes, then rook takes. Oh, rook c3. What is the idea? So white is threatening to take the pawn on c4, followed by here, rook there to attack the isolated a6 pawn. Takes, then I have to attack the pawn, right, on the behind. Rook b8. Okay, then king d3. Why is that a good move? Can I just play? Okay. So I think white decided to, okay, if for example rook here check, then you can just give up the h3 pawn. The idea is to what? To go here. Maybe rook here, rook c6. Yeah, white can give up the kingside pawns in exchange of attacking black's queenside pawns. Maybe that's the idea. So king d3, rook d1 check, king e4 threatens to king f5, then king g6. End quote. Okay, so f6. With that pawn move, every pawn move creates a weakness, or every pawn move creates a weakness. So rook e7 is better. At least it doesn't create any weakness. Rook e4, pinning the knight. Rook e8, bishop d3, rook c8, rook f4, rook e8. What is black doing here? Or maybe what is white doing? How can white break through against black's position? With the knight on e5, defending this pawn. Maybe white can play h4. If he plays h4, then I play g5. No? Maybe. Then h takes g5, h takes g5, rook f5. Then knight takes g4. Then rook takes f7. Okay, I don't know. Maybe not g5. I don't want to weaken my pawn. You're fine there. I'll just wait for white to play h4, g5. Then I take. Then I control the h file. That's what I'm gonna do. Just wait for my opponent to do something horrible or make mistakes. Rook e8, king d2. Okay, so Ulf Anderson is moving his rook back and forth. He's just waiting for white to do some mistakes. Rook e7, king c2, rook c8, king b3. Okay, is Karpov going to play c4? Bishop e2 now. That's weird. Okay, now c4. So c4. B takes c4, bishop takes, then g5. So trying to drive the rook on f4 because the rook is not the only one who's aside from the king. The rook needs to defend the bishop on c4. So rook d4, then rook c7, f5. Look at that. That is nice. So, by definition, black's f pawn is backward because you cannot just push. There's no friendly pawns that can defend the f7 pawn, but Grandmaster Anderson played f5, trying to get rid of it. So the idea is takes, then here. Okay, what about b5? Rook takes, bishop d3. Yeah, I'm just wondering here. So I'm gonna take, or even knight takes, king takes. I don't know. Maybe just take here. Rook takes. Yeah. If for example check, then I go king b6, attacking this bishop, and the bishop cannot leave this pawn on a6. So bishop has to go like here. Then I can start harassing the bishop. I know. If I take, then push pawn, so I cannot. So I have to go here. But now I have this knight d7. So I think it's still defensible for black because of then knight and rooks are active. Okay. I was just wondering how the author of this book, Grandmaster Lev Polugayevsky, didn't include that bishop b5 breakthrough. Instead, Karpov played bishop d3, takes, rook takes pawn, king c4. Okay, tried to create a pass pawn on the queen's on the king side for counterattack. Then check. Rook here. Okay. So here white is trying to play b5. Is there a threat of b5? No, maybe not. But check. Here now white is threatening to play rook e7, so prophylaxis move. Now white cannot go to e7 because I'm gonna get you. King d4, then I check again. Okay, now not check. King c7, rook c3, king b7, draw agreed. Okay, what did we learn from that example? What did we learn? So it's a passive defense. We have to find a way, because when we assess the position deeply, it turns out that black is in trouble, especially in the endgame. But Ulf Anderson was able to use its king to protect the weak queenside pawns, and I think Karpov's move pushing the pawn and releasing the tension with a5 is not a good move. Here, instead of pushing the pawn, maybe you should just like maintain the tension with maybe king b4. Maybe still a draw, but maybe it's a possible. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the computer just quickly. Hopefully my computer wouldn't die, because it is having trouble doing streaming and using chess engine and a lot of stuff. Okay, so according to the computer, okay, it's 0.12 is equal. a5 is Stockfish 12's third option. What about king b4? Okay, no, king b4. So after king b4, king here. What if I take? Take. Okay, so still nothing. So even h4. What is even the idea of h4? Yeah. Black's position looks like a fortress. Knight d7, nothing. Okay, I attack, then he just defends, right? Oh, he cannot attack because now here. So white has to be careful here, you know, to calculate these things. Maybe here, knight e5. Then if I take, and knight c6. Oh, rook d2. This is a fork. Okay, so now black has a dangerous attack. So it's hard to be confident with this kind of pawn structure, but I still believe that king b4 is a better move than a5, just closing stuff. But it seems like if, for example, after white plays king b4, then black just waits and sits. Anyway, this rook is stuck defending this pawn. So it's just again I guess it's knight versus bishop that is playing. Okay, so it's a good idea. This is the first time that I saw this game where the black king rushed to the queen side to protect its weak pawns on the light square, because white's bishop is on the light square and black's pawns too. So it's a passive defense, but don't forget that king is also a piece. It's a defensive piece that you can use. Okay. Alright, guys. So I hope you guys see you in the next show. And don't forget to subscribe on my Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Alright guys, see you in the next show. Bye.